Earthsea, also known as Earth 26, is one of the veritable infinite number of parallel realities that comprise the original multiverse and is home to the anthropomorphic animals such as Captain Carrot and the amazing zoo crew. And the characters considered as funny animals first seen during the golden age of comics published by DC Comics. Earthsea is very different from other parallel Earths because it is not occupied by analogs of characters found on other Earths. However, nearly every major US city existed on Earthsea, albeit with an animal-inspired name like Meow Orleans as opposed to New Orleans, for instance. In Earthsea, we can find the Zoo Crew, the main superhero group fighting numerous petty, funny, but sometimes powerful villains. As a publicly recognized superhero group, the government leased the Z Building as the official headquarters of the Zoo Crew. The Z Building was originally designed and constructed by the eccentric architect Frank Lloyd Wright. They have a multi-purpose transportation called the Zoo Cruiser, donated by the government, and a carrot-shaped spaceship called the Star Hopper. When the multiverse was recreated in the wake of the Infinite Crisis, Earthsea was designated as Earth-26 and in the fallout from Flashpoint was designated as Earth-26. In the Rebirth era of DC, we saw that the Zoo Crew were killed during the multiversal invasion of Perpetua, where her apex predators killed the Zoo Crew and many Earth-26 residents. The Zoo Crew also appeared in Scribblenauts Unmasked, a DC Comics adventure. Now, to further immerse ourselves to this parallel universe, let's meet the residents of Earthsea. First is the leader of the Zoo Crew, Captain Carrot. Roger Rodney Rabbit of New York was a normal, bespectacled comic book artist. While working at Wombat Communications, Roger encountered Superman of Earth-1, who had accidentally pierced an energy barrier created by a strange, glowing meteor that teleported him to the Earthsea dimension. After a brief exchange between the two, Roger began eating a mysterious glowing carrot from his window box, which, unknown to him, was struck by a meteorite fragment originating from the same meteor that sent Superman into Earthsea. Unaware that anything was amiss, he soon developed a muscular physique, super hearing, and the ability to bunny hop clear across the city. His ears can even lift bigger animals. Roger donned a costume he acquired from a costume party and became the superhero known as Captain Carrot. Across the country, other animals experienced similar transformations. Roger met with these superpowered critters, and together they formed the Zoo Crew, and their first enemy is the Starro of Earthsea, who is actually a byproduct of the Silver Age Starro. As Captain Carrot, Roger has superhuman strength, invulnerability, and super speed. Also, different physical laws in his cartoonish dimension allow him to survive otherwise fatal injuries, such as being crushed entirely flat or having his head severed. He can even operate his body bereft of his head, should the two be separated. However, when consuming one of his cosmic carrots, Roger would only gain superpowers for roughly 24 hours, although major exertion could exhaust the powers sooner. As such, he has to constantly replenish his powers and keep a pair of carrots holstered on his person for such a need in emergencies. Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew have won many battles and defeated many foes. Some years after, the Zoo Crew disbanded and Roger became an alcoholic, partially because of their failure to avenge the death of Little Cheese. As a comic book artist, Roger Rabbit is the creator of the Just Lara Animals or JLA comic series, which is very famous on Earthsea. This comic series features the anthropomorphic animal version of the Justice League, and they are placed in the universe of Earthsea-. Roger Rabbit works for DC Comics, and DC Comics in Earthsea stands for Detective Chimp. Heroes of Earthsea and Heroes of Earthsea- have met on some occasions. Roger's other projects are Crypto the Superdog and Ace the Bat Hound. In the New 52 era, Roger Rabbit became Rodney Rabbit in Earth-26. In this era, Captain Carrot was in charge of collecting superheroes from across the multiverse after Thunderer activated the alarm in the House of Heroes. Recruited by the House of Heroes during the Gentry's assault on the multiverse, Carrot greeted Superman of Earth-23 saying that they had met before and led him to the central room of the House of Heroes. Captain Carrot soon became an indispensable member of Justice League Incarnate. He embarked on a mission alongside other multiversal heroes to rescue Nix Uotan, the last Monitor. Now, following a devastating defeat at the hands of the one true Darkseid, Captain Carrot must somehow find a way to maintain his cartoon optimism in an ever-darkening multiverse. At some point, the sun in Earth 26 has become crazy and possessed the zoo crew and its residents. Captain Carrot fought the sun by hugging it and caring for it, which pushed itself to returning to normal. He was given the Vorpal Fish, a powerful weapon from the forces of Cat Hell that he would use against Backside and his Furies. Captain Carrot was among the many Supermen of the multiverse who were kidnapped by the Prophecy to steal their powers, but they were freed by the Justice Incarnate. During the multiversal attack of Perpetua, Captain Carrot was seen fighting the Reichsmen of Earth X. Sometime after, he and the Justice Incarnate were possessed by the darkness. But they were freed by Dr. Light. Later, he and Yankee Poodle would have a loving relationship. However, much later, Roger Rodney would get married to a different woman and have lots of kids who can fly. The award-winning gossip journalist and born in Follywood, California, Rova Barkett is the patriotic pooch Yankee Poodle, a member of the zoo crew. While interviewing movie actor Bird Rentals in his Follywood home, Rova was struck by a meteor fragment which was launched toward Earthsea by the villain Starro the Conqueror. The result gave her the superpowers of animal magnetism as she described them. Joining with Bird, who was also transformed by a separate meteor fragment, the two teamed up with other superpowered animals affected by the meteor. Together, the group defeated Starro with the aid of Superman and decided to form the superhero team called the Zoo Crew. Yankee Poodle's power is magnetic manipulation. She possesses powers of animal magnetism, consisting of the ability to shoot semi-solidified electromagnetic blue-colored stars with her right hand to repel objects and generate the red and white stripes with her left hand in order to attract objects. She can also use her red and white straps for protection by wrapping herself inside a cocoon made from her stripes. By using both hands at once, Yankee Poodle could generate highly destructive magnoblasts. She could also use her powers to travel by forming a ramp of stripes while propelling herself along it by shooting stars behind her, which is called a star stream. However, as a dog, she is very vulnerable to auditory assault. Rova tended to reflect the values of her Follywood roots and thus had a great fondness of things such as the group's public image or her own both in and out of costume. Thus, she handles all the public relations of the zoo crew. She also occasionally got into spats with the group's other female member, Alley-Kat-Abra. In Teen Titans Volume 3, published in 2006, Yankee Poodle is mentioned in a series of pages purporting to be a Zoo Crew comic published in the mainstream DC universe, and follows the adventures of the Zoo Crew teammates in a grimmer, darker version of Earthsea, parodying the recent trend toward grim and gritty superhero comics. In these pages, Yankee Poodle's secret identity was outed by the government, and she was accused of attempting to assassinate President Fillmore. Yankee Poodle escaped Pelican Bay prison and became a fugitive. The rest of the team went into hiding but reunited when Little Cheese died and Captain Carrot was missing. Much later, when Rova Barkett was convicted of the assassination attempt, she has become even more popular than ever. She then had the highest rated talk show in TV history. Bird Rentals is the elastic Rubberduck, a member of Captain Carrot's zoo crew. He is also a famous actor in Follywood, California, before becoming a superhero. While being interviewed by gossip columnist Rova Barkett as he was lounging on his bathtub, Bird was struck by a glowing meteor fragment which was launched toward Earthsea by the villain Starro the Conqueror. The result gave him the power to stretch his body into any shape. Joining with Rova, who was also transformed by a separate meteor fragment, Rubberduck and Yankee Poodle teamed up with other superpowered animals affected by the meteor. Rubberduck possesses the ability to stretch and contort his body into various shapes by controlling every molecule of his feathery form. He can expand any part of his body to be used as a weapon. He is malleable enough to squeeze into any tight holes and create a slinky out of his body to propel himself to the sky. Yankee Poodle can use her stars against Rubberduck's body like a hot air balloon for them to become airborne. His rubbery body makes him highly resistant to injury, though he can suffer painful damage if his body's elasticity is overtaxed, similar to severe muscle pulls. He usually gets stuck on a knot. Bird, like Rova, tended to reflect the values of his Follywood roots, often making various entertainment industry references while fighting foes or dealing with others. He also took great pleasure in the celebrity status his civilian identity afforded him, though he was still friendly towards and respectful of his teammates, allowing them use of his Follywood mansion. He was also far less elitist and snobbish than Rova, preferring lowbrow pursuits such as video games and fast automobiles over mixing with Follywood high society. Rubberduck is technically proficient as he can fix the zoo cruiser all by himself. When the team disbanded many years later, Bird Rentals went back to showbiz and agreed to do a reality TV show together with MC Hammerhead about former celebrities living together. Next is the porcine powerhouse, Peter Porkchops, aka Pig Iron. Peter Porkchops is the only member of the zoo crew who was introduced during the Golden Age era of DC as part of a fire-preventing public service promotion. During the Golden Age, Peter Porkchops had his own self-named comic series. Peter Porkchops is an anthropomorphic pig operating out of Zootopia. Early in his life, Peter was a hobo who frequently matched wits with his neighbor, a wolf, who alternately wished to ruin Peter's day or simply eat him. When Capt Carrot and the zoo crew was introduced in the 1980s, the new hometown of Peter is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Peter eventually got a job working in a steel mill dumping limestones in a vat of molten steel. Struck by a radioactive meteorite chunk, scrawny steelworker Peter Porkchops was knocked into a vat of molten metal. The meteorite fragment acted as a catalyst that protected Peter from harm by transforming him into the super swine known as Pig Iron after the smelted ore process. Not only supermassive, this block-busting boar is super strong. His riveted body is virtually bulletproof and a living roadblock. This hog of steel is almost indestructible. The official weight of Pig Iron is 256 pounds, given in Who's Who, the definitive directory of the DC Universe number 18. However, Pig Iron has perpetual hunger. He suffers from a virtually increasing appetite and is known to consume just about anything. No matter what foodstuff he eats, Peter is always hungry. He soon joined up with several more similarly affected creatures and became a member of the zoo crew. In the New 52 era, Pig Iron would later be the holder and operator of the Multiverse mallet, which transports multiversal travelers back to their own universes. In a 2013 comic series entitled Threshold the Hunted, Pig Iron and Capt Carrot, now Capt Carrot, were introduced in the mainstream DC universe of Prime Earth as two vigilantes living in the planet Tolerance in the Tenebrian Dominion. Pig Iron is a muscular hired gun, and Capt Carrot is a half-cyborg. They are like modern space bounty hunters and are enemies of the Blue Beetle. Timothy Joseph Terrapin, aka Fastback, is a very fast turtle superhero, a member of the zoo crew and the main speedster of Earthsea. Before becoming a speedster, Timothy would always get fired in every job for being slow and late. His last job was with the Tallahatchie Fire Department. One time, while trying to catch a bus to Abalone, a glowing pebble dropped down into his shell. He then achieved super speed and became a member of the zoo crew. Like many speedsters, Fastback can create tornadoes, can run on walls, can use his feet as propellers under the sea, and can use the speed force to travel to other Earths. He can also vibrate through walls and force fields. When the zoo crew was fighting the Timekeeper, Fastback was transported back in time in 1944 during the Second Weird War, right in the middle of a warfare in Florence. There, he met and was saved by terrific Whatzit, a superhero in Earthsea during the 1940s, seen during the Golden Age of comics. When Alley-Kat-Abra became evil and trapped Fastback to the future, Fastback was rescued by the zoo crew. Chip Hunter, Time Master, helped the team travel into the future, and there they fought the Timekeeper. When the team got back, President Fillmore resigned out of disgrace and Benedict Arnold was the new president. The new president, however, put forth an anti-superhero agenda that disbanded the team once more and turned the Z building into retirement condominiums. Fastback then owned the fastest delivery service in the world. During the Convergence story arc, Fastback City was one of the many taken to Convergence by Brainiac and Telos and lost his powers for a year. After the dome went down, he encountered Wally West and his kids passing through different Earths. He followed them and helped them defeat Flashpoint Wonder Woman and her army. In the encounter, Fastback saved the kids of the Flash and swiftly disarmed the Amazons. During the New 52 era, Flashback was part of the congregation of Flashes from the Multiverse gathered in the House of Heroes that helped the Flash of Earth Zero figure out the new forces, Steel Force, Sage Force, and Strength Force. Fastback gave an advice to Barry to go on a Force quest. He further explained the Speed Force is not just about him and that he needs to really explore his world and get out of his shell. Fastback has also become active in participating in various activities of the Flashes of the Multiverse. Chester Cheese, aka Little Cheese, is a high school varsity for basketball and is the son of Dr. Adam Cheese, who was conducting research on the lunar longhorn, a type of cheese found on the moon by the astronauts. As a famous high school basketball athlete, he was approached by a gang led by Fat Cat who wants him to sell out the big game. Chester disagreed, so the gang went after his father. Upon returning home one evening, Chester found his father murdered, with the killer locking him in his father's lab. Unable to escape and growing hungry, Chester decided to eat the lunar longhorn, the only edible thing available in the lab. The extraterrestrial cheese gave Chester the power to shrink in size at will. Chester thus went into training to become a superhero and became Little Cheese. Chester soon joined the zoo crew in bringing his father's killer to justice and was rewarded membership with the group. When the zoo crew traveled to Oz-Wonderland, Little Cheese saved the Mouse Queen of Oz, then fought the flying monkeys of Oz to defend Dorothy. Sometime in the future, in the final arc stories, Alley-Kat-Abra became an evil magician and murdered Little Cheese. She even tried to frame Capt Carrot for it by leaving bits of one of his cosmic carrots near the body. Next is the Last American Eagle. American Eagle is the vigilante who confronted Rodney Rabbit about the death of Little Cheese. He noticed that one of the carrots in a set is missing. American Eagle then brought Rodney to the Cemetery of Heroes and made him look at the headstone of Capt Carrot. They then went to Z Tower and forced him to eat a carrot and transform into Captain Carrot once more. With his persistent fervor and the investigative skills of Yankee Poodle, American Eagle reunited the zoo crew to bring back order in Earthsea. American Eagle was remarkable in resolving the murder of Little Cheese and was then accepted into the zoo crew to rescue Fastback from the future. American Eagle, of course, can fly, but he also has a very clear eyesight called the Eagle Vision. American Eagle also has super strength. American Eagle later became a famous radio talk show host as Johnny Jingo, a host with two right wings. Last but definitely not the least member of the zoo crew is Alley-Kat-Abra. Possibly the most powerful and most useful member of the zoo crew, Felina Fur was a martial arts instructor in the city of Mir Orleans before becoming Alley-Kat-Abra. While engaging in a meditation session, a meteor launched by Starro the Conqueror crashed into her tabachi, a pot with a steering stick on it, imbuing Felina with magical powers and transforming the stick into a magic wand. A student of the occult, Felina Fur's mental and spiritual energies were amplified by her meteorite's unique radiation, allowing her to become the mysterious and magically powerful Alley-Kat-Abra. Felina then inadvertently met Captain Carrot and Pig Iron when the radiation caused by Starro are turning the residents of Earthsea into their animalistic nature. Soon, they would form the zoo crew. Felina uses a mystical wand which she calls Magic Wanda to wield a wide variety of mystical effects. Felina's battle costume is also a manifestation of Magic Wanda's power. The wand's powers include Eldritch Blast that can be powerful in varying degrees, teleportation, she can even teleport the entire team in a blink of an eye, recognition that she has mystical sixth sense, levitation of herself and things around her, telepathy, that she can contact anyone in the team wherever they are, molecular reconstruction, where she can change monsters back into their old forms. She can even turn anyone into a puppet. Alley-Kat-Abra is also a black belted martial artist that she can take Pig Iron by surprise. In fact, she can take multiple criminals by surprise all at the same time. Although very powerful, there are some foes in Earthsea that had magical immunities where the team had to step in. On her alter ego life, Felina is a sexy siren adored by many rich gentlemen. When the team later disbanded, Alley-Kat-Abra became a famous show magician. Her shows are always sold out, but she would always donate her earnings to charity. Much later in the future, for some reason, Alley-Kat-Abra became an evil sorceress and killed Little Cheese, then framed Captain Carrot for his death by leaving crumbs of his carrots in the crime scene. The crew found the body of Little Cheese in an alley but never knew where Captain Carrot was. After further investigations by American Eagle and Captain Carrot, they found out that President Fillmore offered Alley-Kat-Abra a fortune to reveal the identities of the zoo crew. She took the money and became a celebrity. Fastback discovered it, so Alley transported him to 100 years into the future. When Yankee Poodle started searching for Fastback, Alley framed her into an assassination attempt of the president, and when Little Cheese got very close in finding out the truth, Alley killed Little Cheese. Lastly, American Eagle then found out that the orphanage that Alley was supporting is actually a feline fascist society that killed American Eagle's parents and hired Armadillo to kill Capt Carrot. However, the team still didn't know why she did it. As it turned out, it was Dark Alley, the doppelganger of Alley-Kat-Abra, who made all of those crimes. Dark Alley was created by Feline Faust, the sardonic sorcerer who is a frequent foe of Alley-Kat-Abra. Dark Alley then sent Alley to the Netherworld and killed Little Cheese. Luckily, Alley was able to make a mental connection with Pig Iron when he was being eaten by Frogzilla, and they both figured out how to make Frogzilla throw up Pig Iron right into breaking down the building that held the mystic gateway that freed Alley. She helped the team defeat Frogzilla, then promised to bring Little Cheese back to life. Now, let's talk about the Golden Age residents of Earthsea. First are the Three Musketeers. The original Three Musketeers were published in DC's humor series Funny Stuff, first appearing in Funny Stuff #1 in summer of 1944. The strip was drawn by Ronald Santi. The series was a loose parody of the classic 1844 Alexander Dumas novel, The Three Musketeers. In this case, the lead swordsmiths were named Aramus, Amus, and Porterhouse, with young accomplice the Tagmus, and had various adventures while serving King Louis XIV. Their first enemy is an evil cat duke. The series ran in Funny Stuff until early 1948, after which the characters remained unseen for years. The Three Musketeers would later appear with the zoo crew when Yankee Poodle and Rubberduck traveled back in time to the Renaissance period. The story revealed the Musketeers are historical figures in Earthsea's version of France during the 17th century. However, they were all captured by Astro the Alchemist, a dark sorcerer, and Duke Bazook, a royal rascal. Peter Panda had his own self-titled series published by DC Comics that ran from 1953 until 1958. Peter Panda was one of the first of the funny animals to debut on his own title. The first issue, dated September 1953, introduced Peter, along with his human friends Jimmy and Janie Jones, his non-human friend Ronald Dragon, who spoke in rhyme, and his girlfriend Pretty Panda. The supporting characters didn't interact much. They met once in a while, but in a typical issue, Peter would do a story with Pretty, one with Ronald, and one with Jimmy and Janie. A fourth story would be about a separate character, Stanley the Timid Scarecrow. Peter and his friends routinely encountered magical things such as winged horses, books that punish kids, and trees that grow sandwiches, hamburgers, and onions. Mother Goose's house was within walking distance. A nearby neighborhood where Ronald lived, as did his girlfriend Drusilla, was populated entirely with dragons. Most stories involved dealing with magic gone awry or small personal crisis, but there was occasional outright villainy on the part of Foxy Dan or his ilk. From beginning to end, Peter's illustrator was Rube Grossman, who also did the comic book version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and in animation worked on the Mighty Hercules. Possibly DC's first talking animal superhero, Merton McSnortle aka the terrific Whatzit, is a superhero turtle who first appeared in summer of 1944 in Funny Stuff comic series and was created by writer-artist Martin Nadel. McSnortle is a turtle and shopkeeper who lives in the town of Zooville and is famed for his honesty and laziness. When Prince Highness and Prince Lowness bet on what would happen if a completely honest man was given incredible powers, they found Merton McSnortle. As the laziest man around, McSnortle was too lazy to ever commit a dishonest deed. The princess brought him to Vulcan, damaging his shell in the process. On Vulcan, McSnortle was trained in athletics and arithmetic. What McSnortle didn't realize was while that on Vulcan, his weakling training efforts would translate to him becoming the most powerful man back on Earth. When the princess sent him home, Prince Highness sent along an automatic conscience in his repaired shell that would pester McSnortle until he was forced to act for good. Dressed in a heroic outfit, McSnortle would fight crime as the terrific Whatzit. He will go on to aid the Allies during the Second Weird War. Merton possesses super speed, super strength, that he can punch bullets back to the enemy, and the ability to fly. Additionally, his nephew Timmy Joe Terrapin, Fastback, would acquire similar powers and join the zoo crew in the future. McSnortle the Turtle appears in The Flash in two different forms. The first version appears in the episode Revenge of the Rogues as the childhood stuffed animal of Iris West. The second appears in the episode Borrowing Problems from the Future as a regular turtle that Harrison H.R. Wells gives to Barry Allen as a housewarming gift. The terrific Whatzit also appeared as a pet turtle of Flash in the DC Superhero Girls episode All Pets Are Off. Merton the Turtle, Terrific Whatzit, appears in DC League of Super Pets movie of 2022, voiced by Natasha Leon. This version is a non-anthropomorphic female turtle who acquires super speed after being exposed to orange kryptonite and goes on to become the Flash's pet and a founding member of the titular League of Super Pets. The Terrific Whatzit also appeared in the DC Super Pets children's books Salamander Smackdown. This version is the pet of Barry Allen Flash, who wears a similar costume as his. Before becoming the scary and strong Wolf, Andy Wolfie Wolf was the neighbor of Peter Porkchops and frequently out to get the little pig. Both Wolfie and Peter Porkchops first appeared during the golden age of comics in the 1940s. When he was reintroduced in the Capt Carrot series, Wolfie is a successful plumber but is constantly haunted by his urges of eating his neighbor, Peter Porkchops, so he is a constant patient of Dr. Sigmund Frog, a prominent psychiatrist. Wolfie became the villainous character after acquiring a talisman that contained some of the steel that Peter had fallen into and given him his powers, thus containing some of the meteor fragments as well. He is Earthsea's version of a werewolf, depicted here as a human being, a mythical creature on Earthsea. Wolfie acted on his impulse as the Wolf. As Wolf, he is immune to the magical spells of Alley-Kat-Abra, impervious against the magnetic stripes of Yankee Poodle, and definitely unfazed by the tornado of Fastback. Even Capt Carrot is easily roughed up by him. Nevertheless, Pig Iron can fight him. On their fight, Wolf managed to bite Pig Iron, which caused for him to lose his powers and turn back into Peter Porkchops. Finally, after decades of chasing Peter, a Wolfie is now able to eat Peter Porkchops. Next is J. Rufus Lion, DSP, a lion who just can't tell the truth. To enthusiasts of population diversity, J. Rufus Lion, a DC Comics funny animal who was contemporary with the terrific Whatzit and the Dodo and the Frog, stands as a far more exemplary individual than the average member of this planet's dominant characters. Few, if any, would dream of marrying a member of a different species. To be specific, his wife is a chicken. It was part of the basic premise of the series that J. Rufus was henpecked and she was the hen that did the pecking. Additionally, J. Rufus's wife has a nephew named Arsenic, who is a giraffe. J. Rufus made his initial appearance in the premiere issue of Funny Stuff, the first DC All-American comic book devoted to the funny animal genre, dated summer 1944. The title started with the DC imprint, but the companies began their brief split within 6 months and Funny Stuff went with All-American before their eventual recombination. The first story was written and drawn by Sheldon Mayer, the young editor who is said to have talked DC bosses into taking a chance on the first Superman story, and who probably first had the idea of teaming up a broad selection of heroes as the Justice Society of America. Mayer was also the creator of Scribbly and Sugar and Spike. In the 24th issue, August 1947, the dynamic of the series shifted, with the introduction of J. Rufus's next-door neighbor, Mortimer Rat. Mort was a chiseler like many DC funny animal second bananas, such as Crawford Crow, DC Dog's Amster the Hamster. This added a dimension of victimhood to Rufus's character. J. Rufus remained a funny stuff regular, not greatly changed once Mort was introduced, for the rest of the 1940s and appeared as well in about a dozen post-superhero issues of Comic Cavalcade. In 1950, the series was transferred to Hollywood Folks, where Nutsy Squirrel was the cover featured star. He continued there until issue 39 in October 1951. Lastly, also introduced during the Golden Age is Blackie Bear. Blackie Bear is a banjo-eyed Bruin who'd rather sleep than eat sweet honey. Blackie Bear is an anthropomorphic bear typically depicted as a well-meaning but often bumbling protagonist. His stories are comedic in tone, featuring slapstick humor, gentle satire, and the everyday misadventures of animal characters in a world mirroring human society. Blackie is often accompanied by supporting characters, such as the Cubs, who serve as foils or instigators in his escapades, but most of the time heroic deeds. Last but not the least, and possibly one of the most prominent in Earthsea Golden Age, are Dodo and the Frog. Dunbar Dodo and Fenimore Frog made their first appearance in the 18th issue of DC's Funny Stuff in 1947. They were clearly intended from the start to be the title stars, as they not only had two stories but also snagged the cover and never gave it up as long as Funny Stuff lasted, then taking over the series entirely. Their stick was that Dunbar as a dodo, not just by species but also by mental capacity. Fenimore was constantly taking advantage of him, but usually wound up outsmarting himself. Fenimore Frog was a wily scammer who often tried to take advantage of the dull-witted Dunbar Dodo, but almost invariably came off worst. They had a great run for most of the remaining Golden Age of comics. In the pre-crisis era of DC, their most prominent post-series appearance was in Captain Carrot and His Amazing Zoo Crew in 1982, where, ignoring his previous characterization as an imbecile, the Dodo appeared as a captain of a luxury cruise ship, and ignoring his previous characterization as an inept chiseler, the Frog appeared as that issue's menace, Frogzilla. Fenimore fought the Zoo Crew as the monstrous Frogzilla. Frogzilla attacked a cruise ship captained by Dunbar. The Zoo Crew fought him and won. Now let's talk about the villains in Earthsea. The enemies of the Zoo Crew include the Bunny from Beyond, a very powerful space rabbit. He can levitate anything and destroy evil eggs anywhere in the world with his mind. He can also turn anyone into stone. Bozar the Barbarian, a Stone Age warrior from the past. King Cone, aka Garrison Gorilla, a resentful gorilla ex-employee of the Bassett and Robbins Ice Cream Company, whose costume is a refrigerated suit like Batman's enemy Mr. Freeze, armed with a gun that projected destructive blasts of ice cream. Polly Wannacracker, aka the Squacker, Yankee Poodle's rival journalist who has sonic powers. Polly crashed into a radio broadcasting tower and gained her sonic scream. Salvador Doggy, aka Devil Dog, the Great Fabricator, a Chihuahua painter of ultra-realism art who is trapped in a magical dimension and then summoned Alley-Kat-Abra to help him escape. The Beal Dog could warp reality and wielded a trident named A Brush with Disaster. Acrostic, which is the abbreviation of a cabal recently organized solely to instigate crime, as well as other variants designed to fit that particular acrostic. A secretive organization that plots to overthrow the American government. Feathers Fillmore, aka the Brotherhood, Acrostic's shadowy leader named for his black hood. He is President Mallard Fillmore's criminally adept brother. Jailhouse Rock, a giant vulture who had been in jail since the late 1950s until he is released to work for Acrostic. Congaroo, a kangaroo from Australia who is transformed into a giant by Acrostic. This mammoth marsupial can lift buses. However, he was easily outsmarted by Fastback and Yankee Poodle and fell into the canyon. Louis Landcrab, a crab real estate agent who attempted to buy the Zoo Crew's headquarters. After being rejected by Captain Carrot, he teamed up with Frogzilla to get revenge. Cold Turkey, a turkey with the power to control the weather, especially with inducing snow, and possesses cold ray devices. He calls his hoodlums the snowbirds. Dr. Hoot, an owl who uses various scientific gadgets to commit crimes. His giant robot is much stronger than Pig Iron and can release an energy blast that weakens Captain Carrot. It also has flying removable hands. The Salamandroid, a heat-based salamander android and creation of Dr. Hoot, a member of the anti-mammal movement in the final arc. Salamandroid can release flaming heat from his whole body. Alfred E. Newgator, aka Mud, an alligator and distant relative of Fastback, who went treasure hunting in the Okie Dokie Swamp in 1923 and died when he stepped into a quicksand bog. Years later, a movie was shot in the swamp, and a barrel of gloop makeup was dumped in the bog where Alfred's bones lay, creating a mud monster dubbed Mud. Melvin Mackhole, aka Digger O'Doom, a disgruntled mole and office mate of Rodney Rabbit in Wombat Productions, recently fired by their boss who gains incredible strength after eating one of Rodney's cosmic carrots. Armadillo, a villainous armadillo from the Lone Stork state of Texas with 9 banded armor, or invulnerable scales and razor-sharp claws. He is also bigger than Pig Iron. His rending claws can tear a tank to shreds in seconds. The Timekeeper, a villain who can transform the Zoo Crew into either babies or oldies. He is a rotund bear who can manipulate time and space. Cheshire Cheetah, a British cheetah who gained super speed from a constant diet of fast food. After failing to outrun Fastback, the Cheshire Cheetah attempted to escape via a stolen prototype jetpack, only to be blasted into space. This cheetah is so fast that he can create a cyclone. Fat Cat, a cat crime boss who wanted Chester Cheese to throw a basketball game. When he refused, Fat Cat had Chester's father killed, which indirectly caused him to become Little Cheese. Fat Cat has electronic ninetails connected to his belt that can electrocute the heroes. Fat Cat was eventually defeated by Little Cheese with help from the Zoo Crew. Starsky and Hatch, aka the Screeching Tire, a hamster piloting a giant wheel called the Treadnought. He was a special effects technician for Steven Spielberg's movies and was mad that he never received any credit for it. Steven filmed his rampages and offered to make Hatch his next big star. Doc Bill Platypus, aka Power Platypus, a platypus stunt double. Doc was mad that Bird Rentals was going to do his own stunts for his last movie. He tried to get revenge by sabotaging Bird's car, but Bird was able to save himself every time. Willie Wildebeest, aka Harry Houdini, a master escape artist and a wildebeest bank robber with magical powers. His magic is ancient sorcery, which makes him possibly more powerful than Alley-Kat-Abra. He is eventually revealed to be a genie and sealed back in his bottle by Alley-Kat-Abra. Slumberjack, a jackrabbit art thief who claimed to be the world's slowest jackrabbit. Stanley Bruin, aka Solar Bear, a bear weatherman who could generate intense heat and blinding light after being struck by a magnified sunbeam. He blinded his viewers to rob them but was defeated when Fastback caused him to overheat. Of course, special mention goes to Starro the Conqueror, an alien starfish and an enemy of the Justice League of America. After a past battle between the JLA and Starro on Earth 1, in the original DC Multiverse, a severed piece of Starro falls through a chartreuse hole and regenerates into a new Starro in Earthsea. The motives and tactics of this Earthsea Starro are somewhat different from the original Starro. He was the Zoo Crew's first opponent and most recently appeared in Captain Carrot in the final arc in 2007 and was conniving with Salamandroid. Oh yeah, there was once an episode when Gorilla Grodd, the brilliant mind-controlling gorilla from the main DC continuity, once transported himself to Earthsea, only to be defeated by the Zoo Crew and the Changeling. Other characters in Earthsea include the President of the United Species of America, Mallard Fillmore, a reference to the 13th President of the United States, Millard Fillmore, and Vice President Hubert H. Hangdog. So, what's your opinion about Earthsea? Would you be interested in an animated series about Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew? How about Captain Carrot's role in the Justice League Incarnate? Don't you think he should be like the second in command to President Superman? Would you like a video about Earth C-? Let us know what you think, and don't forget to like, give thanks, share, and subscribe.